Welcome back to Area DMG. I'm your host, Phil Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and for today's episode of Suki Nihon, we are looking at episode 9 of Season 3 of Steven Universe, Too Short to Ride. Essentially, this starts out kind of out of nowhere, really. We have a Peridot who's hanging out at the temple house, and Steven gives Peridot a tablet and introduces her to, quote, TubeTube and Twitter. Yeah, I think that was kind of weird because one, there's no precedent for her to be hanging out around the temple because like she lives up in that barn area. And where's Lapis in all this? Who knows? It's just not beneficial to the story, I suppose. Anyways, then Amethyst shows up and Stephen announces that Amethyst and Peridot and Steve are going to go to Funland. And they go over there, but it turns out that they can't really ride on the roller coasters because, well, they're too short. So, Amethyst and Steven shapeshift a little bit to get on to the roller coasters and stuff, but Peridot doesn't, because she's like, about that. So, pretty much what happens is that, like, they go and they have fun inside this fun place, but Peridot doesn't. Until she notices like a little one of those little things where you throw the ring onto the bottles, and decides that she needs to win this alien toy. Turns out she's not very good at it. She finally does kind of win one because Amethyst cheats a bit to get her one of the rings. Finds out she needs to get actually 10 rings for that, and just pretty much Peridot's depressed, and then eventually we get like a little bit of backstory about her. We find out a lot about Homeworld. Actually, the whole Homeworld gems thing, apparently they lack resources. So some of the second generation gems, like Peridot, are born, or rather made, without some abilities like shape-shifting. Well, they don't find out that yet until like Amethyst and Steven trying to help her shapeshift, like by pulling on her or like trying to like, think like a cat, that type of stuff. And it kind of really bothers her until eventually Amethyst gets the actual reason out from Peridot that she can't actually shapeshift. And then there's a little bit there where they fight over the tablet a bit, and then Amethyst goes to throw the tablet into the water. Peridot is like, no! And then she realizes that she can manipulate metal objects for some reason. They're like, we'll give her metal bending powers for no reason. Well, to be perfectly honest, Peridot is pretty much like the best character in the show, mainly because she's the only one with any realistic motivations and a character arc. Most of the characters here, you've got a little bit of their background, but you're missing a heck of a lot of character arc because so much time has passed from when they were introduced to when the show takes place. Anyways, I do like the fact that even though this episode was fairly simple in terms of plot and resolution, it's more about Peridot, and Peridot's an interesting character. I like that particular character. I don't know if we're going to be able to see her fuse, or even if she can fuse, because Homeworld apparently is running out of resources, which is why they're going to planets like Earth and stuff and mining these for resources. Which brings up an interesting thing. I don't think the gems are really like the only aliens out there. So the only real reason they would be gathering up resources and building armies and colonizing all these little areas is if they're also preparing for some kind of threat themselves. So I kind of think that there may be something we're not really hearing about the reasoning behind all the colonization and such. You see, colonialization, despite what people will try and tell you, isn't about greed so much as it is about resources. When you go in and get land, you get the resources around it, you get the people behind it, you get that colony, and that's supposed to help add to your army. Almost all aspects of colonialization don't have anything to do with culture moving forward or science moving forward. They all have to do with some type of imminent threat, be it either, say, the Ottoman Empire or I think there's like a lot of stuff between the French and the Spaniards, or the English and such. You had all these little warring forces, and that's why they went and they got other land to build up on that. You had like what, Alexander the Great or Napoleon. These people just conquered so much land, and they essentially put colonies in those lands because they're putting footholds. And it occurs to me that the homeworld gems may have been going through these planets to put up footholds for some other reason. Essentially, what we've got here is the crystal gems are essentially traitors to the Protoss, who are just who have just decided to turn their back on the Protoss' war against the Zerg. Essentially, I hope that that's actually the reason, and it'll be interesting to see if it goes that way. Some things about this episode. Okay, Peridot finally gets her little stuffed alien doll by essentially using her new metal bending powers to cheat. So essentially it's like, well, the lesson you're supposed to be taking away from this is when Amethyst and Steven are like, oh no, we like you because you're you, not because of things you can do, etc., etc. It's like, oh, very touchy-feely, we like you for you type message. But the final message in this is essentially, hey, you have a special ability, might as well use that to cheat to win. Which I'm not sure that's the healthiest of messages, but that last bit where Peridot's like, ah, for the little alien doll just cracks me up for some reason. I liked the episode, mainly because I like this character. Episode doesn't really have much plot to it, and it's fairly simple. Resolution was kind of a little messy there, but we got a little bit more information about the situation of Homeworld, which probably won't be... They'll probably retcon that at some point. Who knows? What do you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until the next video comes out, you are now caught up.